everything we're going to talk about is the truth. Well, except for the lies. Or maybe I don't lie. But then again, doesn't everybody lie?
And welcome back to the heart of the stories we tell. I'm Rob, the host, and this is another look deep into what makes a story, a theory on storytelling by a storyteller who believes that every story has merit. And tonight's episode is
Based on a true story, and what those words mean. First of all, there is a difference between a fictional story that's based on a true story and a historical document, and I hope we all realize that. But even more so, those words, based on a true story, can so be weasel words. What's based on it? Just the base concept? Just a character name? I mean, seriously, sometimes we even put things like that up on stories that aren't even based on true stories. So, how can you tell? Well, you can't. Sometimes people are just liar, liar, pants on fire. And sometimes things are based on a true story, but, then I wonder, has Tom Hanks never met a Red Sox fan? Even our most crazy fiction, when they really touch us, though, has some inspiration from the truth. Sitcoms that exaggerate things to be ridiculous, all sorts of things. But at the same time, they're lies we sometimes tell to ourselves. And this is really a fabrication, much like the big political problem we have right now with fake news. How can you tell when something's someone else's point of view and when they're just lying? Just for the record, Obi-Wan, your pants should be on fire. But okay, for those of you that don't know, what I do here is I take apart stories, examine them, try to figure out why we tell them, how we tell them, and all sorts of good stuff like that. I do reviews as stories come up and Throwback Thursdays to do older ones. If that sounds interesting, click subscribe, and let's get started with what it means when we tell true stories, or when we just tell stories that are somewhat true-ish. This is a great line from Deep Space Nine that, as of the time I'm recording this, showcases my age because I was old enough to understand how awesome of a line this was when it came out. I'm old. But at the same time, even when we lie, isn't there something in there? Some nugget of who we are to tell the lie? Fargo, believe it or not, begins with an entire thing about how this is a true story. But you know what? The Coen brothers totally BS'd us. They just made it up. The entire thing, not even based on a true story, really. And this is why I have trust issues. But that's not to say that we don't tell awesome, real life stories about real life heroes. Argo is a great example of something that might as well have been a Bond film, but it really happened. When they say based on a true story in that, they mean it. A lot of details. Yeah, they wrote a script and they made some changes. A Beautiful Mind is somewhere in between the two, especially with the fact that some of these things happened inside the person's head. How can you possibly even attempt to, unless it's autobiographical, write about what someone experienced in their own mind? On the other hand, we tell heroic stories about very heroic people. All sorts of military dramas are based on things that not just really happened, but really messed up stuff and people who should be celebrated as heroes. But then we also have older military stories where we totally change out very real facts and very real people just to Hollywoodize them. So why? Why do we say that they're based on a true story when they're not? Well, sometimes we do it just to catch your eye. Hey, look at this. This is a true story. Later, we'll talk about the other reason why we'd lie about it. But sometimes we do it because, hey, this true story is so amazing, you wouldn't believe it. In fact, one of my favorite stories is that Brad Metzler once watched on the news the fact that someone had broken into Buckingham Palace, walked past the Queen, and ended up using the toilet in Buckingham Palace. And his first thought was, if I wrote this in a story, no one would believe it. They'd be throwing me out. And I'll tell you right now, there's lots of things in the real world news that I sit there and I say, I could not write this. I could not write this, submit this to a reputable editor, and have them look at me and go, oh yeah, people will believe that story. Sure they will. And I often find myself wondering how people feel when they see themselves on screen. Do you think that Julia Roberts portrayed Erin Brockovich well? Do you think that she made her, even though she obviously made her out to be a hero, Did she make her out to be a human, the same way she would? Oh well. I at least hope that she was flattered at the fact that a beautiful woman like it, Julia Roberts was chosen to play her, but we'll see. In the meantime, there are other stories that are based on a true story that you'll never be able to confirm. How much of Goodfellas is real and how much of it is just a realistic interpretation? I don't know. I mean, The Sopranos is a pretty realistic interpretation of the mob. It's not based on a true story, so what's the difference? And then there are stories that you sit there and you watch and you go, I don't understand how, like, without practically mind readers or time travel, you could tell this as a based on a true story. Just the nugget alone could be there. And some of these are very educational. In fact, I would say The King's Speech, if it didn't have all the swears in it, should be taught in every classroom. But I want to talk about what I mean when I say just a nugget of reality. Have you ever heard of a movie called Open Water? Me and my friends make fun of it all the time. Basically, the nugget of truth is there were these people that went out to sea and never came back, and we found wreckage. That's the whole story. Make a movie about it. So how did they get away with putting based on a true story on something that they have no idea how these people? Well, I have no idea, to be honest. They didn't exactly do stellar in the box office. Everyone kind of made fun of the fact that obviously the movie was entirely fictional and could have been about any fictional story. But I would like to also remind you that those little nuggets of truth are how our storytellers get things through. Now, we have this habit of taking real life people. And you know what? Patch Adams is a great example. I didn't know the man. I didn't know of him until the movie came out. But I did a lot of research afterwards, and he was a pretty amazing person. And other things, like, I mean, let's be honest, Patton never shot at a plane with his pistol. But the greatest quote I ever heard during someone being interviewed was someone that served under him said, he didn't actually do it that I know of, but it wouldn't have been out of character for him. And then we have things like this, where we make love stories. I mean, yeah, it took place in Pearl Harbor, and I often wonder when I watch this movie and Titanic, how long before you get the love story that happened on 9/11, or whatever our next great tragedy is. Because remember, Pearl Harbor and Titanic are both huge worldwide known historical problems. And yeah, sometimes we tell stories that are based on a true story to be inspiring, and I like that. I especially like it when they don't shoehorn in random romances that could take place anywhere. Titanic, Pearl Harbor. But at the same time, sometimes we get just into grisly stories that are too grisly, and I don't understand what it is we're really supposed to get away from, other than the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio really, really liked playing in real situations as real people because he really, really wanted that Oscar. I mean, how many times has he been in based on a true story? Him and Tom Hanks, him and Tom Hanks. Wow, quite a few. But okay, that's enough about realistic stories that are realistic. What about stories that say it that aren't? What about when horror movies say it? Now, first of all, I don't want to say that it would be wrong to believe in supernatural things. I want to believe in several of them. But let's be honest. There are times during horror movies when you're like, there's no way that's based on a true story. But at the same time, when you look at The Exorcist, part of the scariness of it is you can watch a documentary on History Channel about this exorcism, and then go to the theater and see what's basically a dramatic retelling of that exorcism on the screen. Still sends shivers down my spine. Jaws is supposed to be based on a real story, but in reality it's based on like 4 different shark attacks over the years, and in no way, shape, or form, and any of the sequels are totally, like, practically slasher fiction. What about the Amityville Horror? That one happened right down the road from me. And people swear, even people that just live in this area, swear that those stories are 100% true. There's even a court case right now where people are arguing whether it's true or fiction. Then there are ones that are more blatant. They tried to do the same thing they did with Fargo, oh, the Blair Witch is real, this, that, the other thing, and this is all found footage, and they really launched the whole found footage like genre, but well, they were liar, liar, pants on fire. Just like this guy, who from no point of view was telling the truth whatsoever. So why is this important? Well, as we walk through the heart of the stories we tell, every once in a while I want to really think about why we tell and how we need to digest stories. And one of the things we need to do is we really need to sit there and be able to pick out when someone says something is true, whether we should believe it or not. And point blank, there are times that it's really hard, and there are times where we lie to ourselves. Like I said, I want to believe in some things, but at the same time, I don't want to believe in this ghost story because it's scary. On some level, there is some magical line that's been drawn somewhere in your head and in everyone's head. I believe X, but I won't believe Y. And sometimes you need to challenge that line yourself. When people say something's based on a true story, are they telling you a story that's historically going to give you some context into the world we live? Or are they just trying to make you believe that it's true to get a scare out of you? At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters whether Fargo's real or not. The emotions it makes in you, the feelings it pulls out of you, are true no matter what. So, from a certain point of view, everything you get told in a story is true. Even the lies? My dear doctor, they're all true. Especially the lies. We lie to ourselves, we lie to others, we tell entertaining stories, and we try to push things past the envelope. At least that's my thought on this. And sometimes we just go a little too far with the phrase, based on a true story. So be careful with when people say that phrase, and take everything with a grain of salt. But somewhere deep down, maybe like Agent Mulder, you want to believe. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think the phrase should be used more sparingly? Do you understand when it's used just for comical effect or horror effect? Or do you just think there's a story that needs to be resolved? Was it based on a true story? And of course, like and share this video, and of course subscribe. As of right now, I'm just shy of 90 subscribers, and when I hit 100, I'm going to do a free giveaway of an Amazon gift card. Of course, that's not going to mean much because, realistically, they're upping the ante here at YouTube, and I need 1,000 subscribers plus so many watch hours before I'll be able to monetize again. So hey, join the community. You might as well. You're going to get commercial free coming after February 20th. For now, I hope you have a good night, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of the true stories.